So before we go deeper into the Pluto stuff, which is very, very interesting and exciting, let's run through quickly Saturn. What does it mean for the next 3 years, okay? So for Aries, for the 12th house, Pisces is the last sign. This is like the ending of such a long period. It is a full circle. Every person's life will come into kind of in a full circle. So it's like really like a big deal when Saturn is in Pisces. And I watched a video what that really means overall in general. But for Aries, because it's the 12th house, it's the final house. It's the psychology, the mental health matters, and frenemies and people who doesn't help Aries. It's the last chance to, not the last chance, but generally speaking, every 30 years, this Saturn comes to that house. For me, again, as I said, it was in the 90s, late 90s, so 30 years. For every 30 years, so the majority of the people experience twice in their lifetime this return. Twice in a lifetime, if you're lucky, 3 times. But every 30 years, this happens. Saturn is in one house again. So for Aries, it's in the 12th house. So the final stretch when Saturn moves into Aries, this means restructuring and rechanging, redevelopment of the entire system, the entire personality of Aries. It's going to be very strong. So as a tough teacher, Saturn really wants to put structure, wants you to put effort and structure. What has not been for the last 30 years, you have not been built, will be really crumbling down, and you have to work on that again. So this is the last chance for Aries, for the 12th house, to really just release all the karmas for the frenemies, people not helping, and finally get the mental health, get your inner health, your psychology, your health, all this in check before it's moved strongly in 2026 into Aries to build a solid structure. So this is the final stretch for Aries. For Taurus, it will be in 11th house. So 11th house is the goals, dreams, and wishes, and the friend circle, the communities. For Taurus, this means Taurus are being asked to put structure into, cut off what no longer serves in the community that you belong to. If you don't feel like you belong to that community anymore, cut it off. For the 3 years, you will be actually have to cut it off to build solid friendships, to really are your friends, to really are there, like the shoulder you can rely on, to have solid friends, have solid networks, and solidify your dreams, wishes, and goals, not like in a dreamland, but really put a structure. That's the whole point for Saturn. Put a structure on your hopes, dreams, and wishes to make sure that it is not like out of reach, but you have to make sure that it serves you for your highest good. It serves you for the next 30 years. So it has to be something that comes from here, because the universe will make it happen anyway. So if you hold on to something that does not serve you, you must get rid of it, or the universe will do it anyway with Saturn. So Gemini, 10th house career, you have to put structure, and you have to restructure, rebuild your career, the place in the world, your reputation in the world, how you show up in the world. This has to be restructured. Now the universe pushing you to restructure your outer world identity, who you are in this people's eye, in your career. What is your career? And build a structure on it, not like running around anymore, but just to build a solid career and a reputation for yourself. It can also mean to heal father issues, or any kind of issues that you had with your father, or have with your father, or father figures. that needs to also be structured, and whatever does not serve you has to be get rid of. And the universe will do it anyway for your highest good. For Cancer is in the 9th house. The 9th house means that it is your long distance travels, your philosophy, how you think in the world, your larger thinking in the world, universities or your higher educations, or if you have to travel long distances for work for your life, for example, those have to be understructured. So really the way you think, it has to be restructured, like thinking of the bigger picture, and it has to be now more in a structured way, in a way that if you had any kind of thoughts and religious beliefs or any kind of philosophies or thoughts that really hold you back and does not help you to move forward, you have to put a structure now on this to really help you to think differently, but in a way that think about for the last 30 years, what was your mentality? What was that you are believing something? It could be religion, beliefs, or any cults or anything like that. Not necessarily cults, but just philosophies. What were you thinking? Was it good for you? Did it guide you? Or did you have to get rid of and change your complete way of thinking? That really helps your highest good in the long run. And again, if you want to do a higher education, this is now like kind of do it kind of attitude. Okay, so for Leo, it's in the 8th house. 8th house is in house of Scorpio, the intimacy house, the other people's money house, and taxes, money that you get from other people, governments, etc. But also your inner, deep inside, your desires, your transformation, your death and rebirth. So you need to put a more structure in that. Again, it has to also be restrictions, so Saturn can be restrictive. So you have to be looking into these cards that are restrictive. They could be restrictive, but this is for your transformation. So what do you need to do deep inside yourself, in your intimacy, in your money that you get probably from others? Probably will be more restrictive at that time and for the next 3 years. So you have to transform it. You have to make sure that it's on a solid basis, that for the last 30 years you need to look into your intimacy issues probably, and once and for all you have to, whatever was holding you back or restricting you, put a structure on it and make sure that it is for the next 30 years it's on a solid ground. Virgo, it's for the 7th house, which is the relationship house. Relationships can be restrictive at this time, but at the same time, because even if it's restrictive, it could be also getting in a stronger partnership, any kind, one-on-one. Although it's a little bit restrictive, also brings it to solid ground. So no more like this wishy-washy thing. So Saturn is anything than wishy-washy. It's really strong and solid. So the relationships you can build for the next 3 years can be very, very on solid ground, or make sure it's on solid ground. For Libra, it's in the 6th house, which is the work, the day-to-day habits, the day-to-day work, and also it's the health routines, health regimes. So Saturn here means really, have you been not living healthy? Have you get out of balance in your day-to-day habits, lifestyles, or food, or were you not eating healthy? Have you had really like bad habits, or your working hours too long? Saturn here pushes you to really make sure that it is really on solid structure for the next 30 years. You have to build a solid, for the next 3 years, a solid routine so that it is strong and you can keep going for the next 30 years. Because if you don't, then the universe will do it anyway for you, which will be not so much fun. And I mean, not so good. That's what I'm trying to say. So better you do it. So try to have nice working hours and also healthy habits, day-to-day routines. And so keep on working on that, because this will help you for the next 30 years. Okay. For Scorpio, Scorpio will be on the 5th house. I was waiting for this. For the 5th house is the love and romance, is the creativity, it's the enjoy, fun, pleasure, whatever makes me happy. I said me, like Scorpio's happy. That's in Saturn, will be more restrictive, but also means children. So time making children, getting children, having children, but even if it's more restrictive, but at the same time, it can be also possible. And also love and romance, dating and that sort of thing. It is all here in the 5th house. Creativity, art, anything creative, those things are all in the 5th house. It can be restrictive, but at the same time building on solid blocks, and for the next 30 years. So great. Yeah, I look forward to that because what happened 30 years ago was really nice. So I hope, I don't know, we will see, but of course that time and this time are complete, the plans are different, but it's good, it's good. Sagittarius in the 4th house. 4th house is the very bottom, is the family, mother, home. So it's more restrictive on that. Maybe you can move, maybe you have to move, maybe you want to move, or even if you don't want to, it's kind of like the universe pushes you to move or to bring more structure in home. Or if you have any mother issues, this can come up, and so you put more structure in that and more structure in the home itself, renovating, buying a new home. But probably buying a new home, it can be more restrictive. At the same time, whatever you build now would be a solid ground for the next 30 years. For Capricorns in the 3rd house, the 3rd house is the communication and the internet, the short distance travel, the neighborhood, the community around you, your siblings. That can be under challenge a little bit. The way you express yourself could be challenging. The relationship with your neighbors or with your siblings probably need to be more restructured. Whatever is not serving you, put in a structure once and for all so that you have a solid ground for the next 30 years. For Aquarius, it is in the 2nd house. The 2nd house is the money house. So the money can be restrictive, where you get money from, where you spending money on, those can be a little bit restrictive, but at the same time, Saturn here wants you to pay attention on how you make money, where you get money, and put it in a solid ground and put a structure on that to make sure what comes in, when it goes out. You have to have a balance, and you have to really build this in a solid ground for the next 30 years. And it's also your self-worth. You have to work on your self-worth. Pluto come into your sign. As I said, Pisces and Aquarius, these are the signs that are really affected a lot. So Aquarius, it's very important because Pluto comes into your own sign. It is also very important about working on your self-value. That's the Saturn here. It's really helping you, in my opinion, really helping you when Pluto comes into your sign for the next 20 years, that you put a structure on your self-worth, because that will help you for the next 20 years when Pluto is in your sign, which is a transformational sign. For Pisces, it's going to be in your own sign. It's your own Saturn return for 30 years. Wow. I mean, for you, this means that your entire system, what you have built for the last 30 years, that if you haven't built it, and I keep saying it, if you haven't built it on a solid ground, it will crumble down. Your entire you will crumble down. If you built your entire world, your entire life on, as I keep saying, like on a castle with sand, castle made out of sand, then it will crumble down. But if you have built for the last 30 years your castle on solid stones, you can build on it and make it stronger for the next 30 years. So evaluate, what have you looked back for the last 30 years? Where are you? Are you there where you want to? If not, work on yourself. For the next 30 years, it's really important. And when Pluto goes into your 12th house, which is your own personal house, then it is also like Aquarius, tries to really push you together with Saturn in your sign to make sure that you build a phenomenal structure, get finally rid of everything that did not serve you for the last 30 years. And oftentimes Pisces are a little bit like in the dream world, and Saturn really brings you down to find out, like really look into the eye and look into the mirror, look into the eye of your feminist, which I will talk in the Pluto section. But look into the eyes, really what did not serve you, and be honest about it. That's the whole point with Saturn. Be honest with yourself and then move strongly forward and make yourself stronger, much stronger. That's what you're called for the next 3 years.